Welcome, ZASLOW Show 2.0. It is a Monday, the 17th of July. Good to have you aboard. We are a Blue Wire podcast presented as always by Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. 800-747-FREE, 800-747-3733. Got a fun little show planned for everybody today. I hope you had a great weekend. We got stuff to catch up on from over the weekend, of course, which was highlighted by Inter Miami introducing Lionel Messi. It is official. He signed the contract. He was introduced last night. Got a lot of thoughts on that event from last night. We got the Marlins back in action. Second half of the season has gotten going. Do we have an update? Anything substantial in regards to, I was going to say Tyler Hero, but in regards to Damian Lillard? That's really the way to talk about the story. Tyler Hero, we know, is going to be in the deal when, like I said, I do believe it gets done, and I do not think that we are very far away from that. So we'll talk plenty about that. But first, so I got to start with this. You guys know I like on a Monday show talk about everything that we did over the weekend, right? By the way, we're going to talk about Lionel Messi, Mike Ryan from the Dan Le Batard show. I mean, big time Lionel Messi insider. He's going to join us on the show today. So looking forward to catching up with Mike. We'll do that with him coming up later in the program. So I like catching up with you guys on the stuff that I do over the weekend. So on Saturday night, right? Yeah. Saturday night, my wife and I, we went to the Improv, went to the Miami Improv. We go to the Improv every so often, and we love going to see live comedy. And so we went to go see a comedian. She's called Jordan Jensen. We went to go see her on Saturday night. Didn't know much about her, but like I'd seen some clips, and I was like, yeah, this is the type of humor that I like, so let's go. First thing I will say is, I enjoyed the show a lot. I thought she was very good. All right, very good. Now, so we are sitting, we're at the early show, Miami Improv, all right? And we got a booth. I love sitting in the booth. Sitting in the booth at the Improv's the best. It's so weird when you have to sit, when you're sitting at the table, because you're sitting next to someone or, you know, people who you don't know. You're up tight against them. You got to turn your head the whole show. I don't know. It's just a whole weird scenario. So I love the booth. Very comfortable. So my wife and I, and we're there with a couple friends as well. So it's the four of us, and we got a booth straight center. I don't care where we sit in the Improv, as long as it's in a booth, but I don't care where we sit. We happen to be like right dead smack in the middle. So that was really cool. And I appreciate the Improv for setting us up. That's always, they're always really good to us. So anyway, I got to tell you though, and this, it's like this in pretty much most walks of life now, right? Where people suck. People just suck. And what I mean by that is, like, no one has any self-awareness. No one cares about other people around them. Myself, I'm a very courteous person. I am. I'm very self-aware. I know what's going on around me. I care about the other people around me. Like, I never want to be bothering anyone. You know, if I'm out somewhere and my kids are being too loud, you got to keep it down. We're bothering people. Like, no one's going to ever have to tell me, hey, tell your kids to keep it down. No, I'm going to take care of that because I don't want to bother you. I'm very self-aware like that. And so the people who are sitting behind us, you know, we're in a booth, and when I say behind us, they're like above us, because then there's like the tabletops that are behind the booths. It's constant talking with each other. And not only that, not only is it constant talking with each other, but they were one of those people who go to comedy shows. You know what I'm talking about here, right? Where you go to the comedy show, and they're the type of people who after every joke or every observation, you know, that the comedian makes, they have a comment for. Oh, yeah. Like, they have something to say about every joke, every line that's made by the comedian. They have to comment. And it's like, shut the fuck up. And just nonstop talk. Like, I don't get it. Laugh as loud as you want. And then you had people who were in front of us it didn't even make sense. I think there was something wrong with this woman. It was this couple. They looked like they were maybe like late 20s, maybe early 30s. I think there was something wrong with this girl. I really do. Because she was talking so loud, talking to her date, the guy, and just as if there wasn't a show going on. And it was so loud. And I was able to tell, like, the people were sitting around them were so annoyed. And, like, I was more amused. I was annoyed, but I was more amused when I was just staring at it. It's like, I really think there was something wrong with her. Talking so loud, as if they're the only people in the room. And then eventually my wife stood up, and she did a whole super loud shush at them. I'm like, sit down, because I guess the girl saw. So at that point, I think she was pretty quiet for the rest of the show. But holy shit, like, there's no self-awareness. Well, it's a combination of no self-awareness and people don't care about other people. I don't know which one is more. Is it more lack of self-awareness or more just lack of caring about other people? I think it's a lot of both. I think it's a lot of not caring about other people, just not giving a shit. Whatever is good for you, And it ruins going to events like that, going to shows like that. And I would say I couldn't believe it, but I totally can believe it. Because we see this wherever we go, right? Just our behavior is so, we've gone so downhill, just as a people, as a society, when it comes to our behavior, empathy, and just giving a shit about other people. Nobody cares. Everyone only cares about themselves. These girls and these broads behind us, like, oh my God, so obnoxious, so loud, the talking, and comments after every comment, every line that the comedian makes. Here's another thing I gotta point out. And now this happens at comedy shows all the time. So, I hate sitting in front for comedy shows. Hate sitting up close. Especially, I'm never gonna sit right up front. Because if you're gonna sit up front, you need to be prepared to be part of the show. It's a choice if you're sitting up front. You're getting there early enough. And if you're getting there early, because the way that they seat you at the Improv, let me explain. The way they see you at the Improv, it's not assigned seats. If you have VIP, which I did which I usually do because I call in advance and the Improv's really good to me and they set me up with VIP. All right, so I get like a booth, I get a really good seat like that. But the seats right up front are general admission. So the earlier you show up, they'll seat you closer to the stage. So if you arrive early, you're probably arriving early because you want them to sit you right up close to the stage. Which, by the way, it's not a thing where, like, you want to make sure you could see. The Improv is small. It's a small little club. You can literally sit anywhere. And if you're arriving there early, it's because you want to sit up front. Now, let's say you arrive early just because, and you don't want to sit up front. You could tell them, I don't want to sit up front. They'll sit you wherever. You're not going to sit you right up front if you don't want to. But if you sit up front, if you decide you want to get there early enough so you could sit right up front, you need to be, I don't know how to make this any clearer. You need to be prepared to be part of the show. I will never sit up close because I don't want to be part of the show. Like at one point, one of the comedians says something like, do we have any Jews here? And I did not raise my hand. And my wife's like, why didn't you raise your hand? Now, my wife's Jewish too. But she's like, why didn't you raise your hand? It's like, I don't want to be called on. I don't want to be part of the show in any capacity. And I'm not even sitting up front. If you're sitting up front, you need to be prepared to be part of the show. So there are several times during the show where the comedian is going to talk, especially if things are going kind of slow, where the comedian is going to talk to the people in the very front. And like on Saturday night when we're there, and Jordan Jensen is up there, and she's trying to talk to the guy up front, and he's just not not even answering back. No back and forth. And it's like, why are you sitting there? If you're sitting up, you can't even talk? You can't even give an answer? No one's expecting you to crack jokes back to the comedian, but you can't even respond with an answer to the question? It's crazy to me some of these people at comedy shows. I don't get it. And you know what winds up happening too? And this is why I think part of it was such a weird crowd that was there on Saturday night. Because let me tell you something. The crowd sucked. And not only did the main act, which is Jordan Jensen, but the feature act, both of them commented, crowd was terrible. Like they said it to the show, this is a really weird crowd. Wow, you guys are killing me. Wow, you guys haven't laughed the whole night. It wasn't, and my wife and I, we had a great time. We thought she was very funny, but it was a lousy crowd, and I'll be honest with you, it was a low IQ crowd. I really think so. But here's also what happens, or at least this is just a guess. This is me, like I'm assuming. I know a lot of the crowd was papered. What does that mean? That's when the show doesn't necessarily sell so well, so the comedy club goes into its database and sends out the emails to everybody, 2 free tickets for the show Saturday night. And that's called paper in the club. They want to get people in the door, and the reason that they give out the free tickets is because it's a 2-drink minimum for everybody, so boom. I mean, that's $30 right there. And you're going to order food. We go there, we order dinner. I mean, it's a $200 bill by the end of the night. So I think a lot of time, like, we're going in 2 weeks or so, yeah, to go see Brad Williams, who, by the way, is going to be on the show this week. I'm really excited to have him on. And Brad Williams, and I'll tell him this when we have him on, Brad Williams is from top to bottom. That's not a short person joke. Brad Williams from top to bottom, meaning also his feature act, the guy who travels with him. Tall black guy, I forget his name. I'll learn it before I have Brad on the show this week. Top to bottom, it was the best comedy show my wife and I have ever been to. Unbelievable, Brad Williams. I think, so we're going on August 3rd. I think he's performing in Dania the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So I can't recommend seeing Brad Williams enough. Best show we've ever been to. And we've seen all the big comedians. So anyway, like at a show like Brad Williams, you're getting a crowd that knows him for the most part. But a lot of times when the room is papered like this, I think you get a lot of people who don't necessarily know the brand of comedy that the comedian, in this particular case, like Jordan Jensen, super raunchy. And I feel like a lot of the crowd had no idea who she was and doesn't care for that brand of comedy. And as a result, it was a tough room. You know how tough the room was? Besides that, she said throughout the act that this is a terrible crowd. At the end of the act, at the end of the show, the comedian always, thank you very much, you guys were great. Like when they walk off the stage. Have you ever heard a comedian say, thank you guys very much, thank you very much, you guys were all right? Have you ever heard a comedian say that? That's what she said at the end of her show on Friday. Thank you very much, you guys were all right. And that's because it was a horrendous crowd. I really think super low IQ crowd. I really do. We had a great time. I felt bad for her because she was awesome and there was just nothing she could do about it with that crowd. So anyway, the people talking, no self-awareness, the people who won't banter with the comedian when you're sitting up front, man, just people's behavior is out of control these days. You can't go out anymore. You can't go out in public. All right. Anyway, I get that off my chest. We had a good time. I wish it was a better crowd. Anyway, let me tell you guys about Water Cleanup of Florida, one of our great sponsors here. And I love telling you guys, matter of fact, my friend Jackie the other day, I gave her Water Cleanup of Florida's info. She's got a friend who needs water restoration. She's like, I got the perfect company for you. Water Cleanup of Florida, 954-900-8635. My boys, the Greensteins at Water Cleanup of Florida, they have over 60 years of combined experience. Their team is prepared to handle all types of leak detection issues, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. After the leak is located and prepared, Water Cleanup of Florida, they then clean, dry, and fully restore all of the damaged areas. They're fully licensed, insured. Water Cleanup of Florida is certified to provide that one-stop shopping all of us busy homeowners and business owners require. They serve the entire Tri-County area, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach. Water Cleanup of Florida, 954-900-8635. You can also text them or go online, WCUFL.com. You can follow them on social media. Water Cleanup of Florida, 954-900-8635. Water Cleanup of Florida. We clean up your schmutz. Also, guys, If you're thinking about getting a new ride, if you want to get a new car, that should be an exciting experience. You shouldn't be full of anxiety. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to get. You don't want to get ripped off. Luckily for you, you're listening to your two-time championship broadcaster, and I tell you, the only car dealership that I personally endorse is North Fort Lauderdale Subaru. If you're thinking about buying a new car, North Fort Lauderdale Subaru carries the widest inventory of newest Subaru models on the market. That includes the Outback, the Crosstrek, the Forester, the Ascent, WRX. If you're looking for a Subaru SUV for your entire family, maybe just something smaller for daily back and forth to work, North Fort Lauderdale Subaru is sure to have the perfect model for you. Get sizzling summer savings at North Fort Lauderdale Subaru. New Subaru models starting at just $249 a month. Save up to $1,500 off MSRP on select new Subaru models in stock. Plus, receive up to $750 in trade-in assistance. NFLSubaru.com. Conveniently located on North Andrews Avenue, just north of Cypress Creek Road. The building you know and the place to go. North Fort Lauderdale Subaru. So, let's get to last night. Lionel Messi is officially part of Inter Miami. He will make his debut this Friday night. Drive Pink Stadium. It's a League Cup tournament game. It's a group game. It's against Cruz Azul, all right? Is that a La Liga team? It might be. Anyway, against Cruz Azul. And so I don't have tickets for that because that's a separate thing. I could have bought. I think there's actually still some tickets available online. The first game I'll get to go to will be there's 6 home games remaining for MLS, for the MLS schedule. I'm an inaugural season ticket holder. So obviously, I had the chance to go last night. Season ticket holders had the opportunity to grab tickets for free. And then any tickets that were available afterward went on sale to the general public for last night's event. And of course, they wanted to make last night's event like the same thing the Heat did when they signed the Big Three. Yes, we did. And it's a whole big party in the arena to unveil Wade, LeBron, Bosh. That's what was happening yesterday. Now, forget about the weather, which was a disaster. I mean, a lightning storm in the afternoon and leading up to the unveiling. And during the ceremony, it was raining really hard at start. And then once the ceremony got going, a light rain. But man, if you went last night, obviously you're hardcore, you love Messi, but God bless. Because you guys went into that stadium and were waiting around in that stadium during a monsoon. You're hardcore. Good for you. You'll see. If you were there just for that, just for what we saw yesterday, Inter Miami is going to get some phenomenal crowds for these, I guess, at least 8 home games, 6 for the MLS schedule, these 2 match play games that are coming up for the League Cup. You're going to get great crowds there. Very, very cool. Now, as far as the event goes, why didn't I go? ZASLOW, you're an inaugural season ticket holder. Why didn't you go? I need last night and these first couple games, which are League Cup games, I need these to be like a trial run before I get over there. The parking situation was already a disaster at Inter Miami, at Drive Pink Stadium. The team is super unorganized. It is a very poorly run team, especially their communications department. Exceptionally poor run team. And of course, that stadium, are they prepared to handle a full crowd? I need to not be there for any of that. I got to sit at home and watch. And when they get a few games of a trial run, that's when I'll go. If it looks safe enough to go. And based on last night, I mean, at the start was a disaster. You had security breach. You had fans who were hopping the rails, who weren't having their tickets scanned. Security wasn't there. Fans essentially broke in through the gates. A disaster. And not surprising because, like I said, it's a poorly run team. Poorly run business, franchise, whatever you want to call it. Now, as far as the actual, look, everybody looked like they had a great time that were there. And like I said, God bless you guys bearing the weather. I'm going to watch it at home. Honestly, I was waiting all day for this event. 8:25, Apple Plus. Which by the way is a subscription service to watch any MLS games and to watch this Messi unveiling last night. You have to pay to watch it. I'm looking forward to it all day. And to say that the viewing experience from home was a disaster is an understatement. I looked forward all day long to watching this, and it couldn't have been a worse experience for the at-home viewer. What a massive disappointment. And with the entire, it's a subscription-based television experience. You have to pay to watch that last night, and you had the entire world watching. And it was an awful viewing experience. I don't know who's at fault for that. Is that Inter Miami? Is that Apple? Is it MLS? I have no idea who was at fault, but it was such a Bush League production. So I understand the rain's making things difficult, but like, why would you have the crew? It's Taylor Twellman and, the woman who's hosting, and, then eventually, at the start, you got George Moss, you got David Beckham that are sitting down like it's raining on them. Why wouldn't there be some type of canopy or something? And then the setup where they had the stage, they were never able to use the stage. They had a stage in the middle of the field and a walkway leading to the stage. They weren't able to use it because they didn't want anyone walking all the way across that walkway because it was so slippery. So they couldn't use that. They had to just kind of stand at the edge of the walkway right at the beginning of the entrance. Why didn't anyone realize this was going to be super slippery? I mean, hell, they sent a message out to everybody saying, rain or shine, this show is going on, so make sure you dress accordingly. They clearly knew, rain or shine, this show is going on. Why did they have a stage set up like that where it was going to be super slippery and they couldn't use the stage? And if you're watching at home on camera, there was no camera angle. Were they using drones maybe? There was no camera angle that gave the viewer a good view of the presentation. And then you got Jorge Mas on the microphone. The whole event is starting. Beckham on the microphone. They're introducing Sergio Busquets. They're talking about what a great night it's going to be. And the microphone, the audio is not connected to the video. Only the people in the stadium can hear, maybe they can hear the microphone. It was not connected to the television viewer. How the hell does that happen? Then eventually they fixed that. And then when Messi came out and he's talking on the mic, it was back to not connected to the television. So, and I don't even care that Messi was talking in Spanish the whole time. If they was just doing the regular broadcast and I could hear Messi in Spanish, I'm not going to understand what he's saying, but I would have an issue with that. Okay, fine. So then, not only is the audio not connected to the television and you can't understand anything Messi's saying, now they bring on an interpreter to talk over him for the TV viewer, but he's completely muffled and you can't hear anything he's saying. It was horrendous. And then they have a whole video presentation. All these famous soccer people who are welcoming Messi to South Florida. And he's standing there on the stage with his family, with Moss, with Beckham, and they're watching the screen. And they're not showing it on the television broadcast. Finally, midway through the presentation, they give you a faraway angle of the Jumbotron and you can kind of make out who's on the screen. It was I could have, you got the whole world watching this event. And it was so amateur hour. And you know what? It felt so Inter Miami. And I understand, you got the whole thing where they kept referencing Miami. They're not even close to Miami. It's Fort Lauderdale. But that's Jorge Mas trying to, he's trying to convince everybody watching it's Miami. I get it. There's an agenda there at least. I mean, it sounded silly for us, but I guess you kind of understand the agenda. Miami, you have welcomed me and my family. It's not Miami. It's not even close. But just the whole, if that's a sign of how Inter Miami, and again, I don't know how much was Inter Miami's fault. I don't know how much was Apple Plus's fault. I don't know how much was MLS's fault. But if that's any sign of how Inter Miami is going to be able to handle Messi, the world's most famous athlete, playing for them, that was a terrible start. Brutal start. I hope everybody who was there had a great time. You look like you had a lot of fun. I'm glad. But the viewing experience at home, where you're likely getting millions of people who are at least attempting to watch them all over the place, it was a brutal, brutal broadcast. Really disappointing. No other way to put it. No other way to put it. So, we'll talk to Mike Ryan coming up, Levitard's show. He's been all over the Messi stuff. He's the best reporter. So we're going to talk to Mike Ryan coming up in a little bit. We'll talk to him about if he was there last night. We'll talk about his experience, or if he watched it at home just like we did. And just like, I don't even care. I'm just happy to watch Messi. I don't even care about whether or not he's, at least right now, I'm not even concerned about him actually making Inter Miami better. But we'll ask him how quick can the addition of Messi make this Inter Miami team any good? They lost 3-0 on Saturday night to St. Louis. So, anyway, all right, guys, I got to tell you, though, you know the official beer of ZASLOW Show 2.0, Johnny Cuba. Mike Ryan's going to join us coming up in a little bit. And we know every guest on ZASLOW Show 2.0 is brought to us by Johnny Cuba. European roots with a Caribbean soul, a refreshing German lager in a can. This weekend, man, I went through a six-pack of Johnny. If you need to pick up, Sedano's, Presidente, Winn-Dixie. If you don't know where you can pick up a Johnny near you, you send me a message on Instagram. I'm an influencer there, at ZaslowJ. And then I tell my man Juan where you live, and he tells me all the places around your neighborhood that you could pick up a six-pack of Johnny. Johnny Cuba, official beer of ZASLOW Show 2.0. Remember to always drink responsibly, and of course, Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. All right. Let's do a little bit on the Heat here. Damian Lillard, before we get to Mike Ryan, and we'll talk about Messi with him. So, first, I want to talk about Tyler Hero first. I feel bad for Tyler Hero. You know, and I know there was some report out there, Tyler's upset, he's mad about the whole situation, but he's not going to request a trade if this trade doesn't go through. He expects to be traded, he hopes he's not traded, he likes it here, and he hopes it doesn't work out, and if it doesn't, he's not going to request a trade. All right, cool. Not that the Heat would give in to that anyway. The Heat love him. Because here's the thing. Yes, the Heat love Tyler Hero. They do. And they have every reason to love Tyler Hero. Well, then why are they shopping him? Well, you know, it's like when the Heat traded for Shaq. I love using the Shaq trade as example and stuff like this. When the Heat traded for Shaq and Lamar Odom was upset. He was mad that the Heat traded him for Shaq at first. He just had the best year of his career. It resurrected his career, Lamar Odom. And now they moved on and, you know, you had a real good young core. What could we have done? Where could it have taken us? Now, not only did everything work out for Lamar Odom, he won 2 championships with the Lakers, but Lamar Odom was mad, and then he realized, like, they didn't just get rid of you. They traded you for Shaq. You were in the trade for one of the best players ever. The team that was trading away one of the best players ever wanted you in return. So, you don't have anything to be mad about. And it's a similar thing here with Tyler Hero. Not from that perspective where the team that is trading away the great player wants you in return, but the Heat have essentially tried to trade Tyler Hero twice, but it wasn't trying to trade Tyler Hero. It's trying to acquire an all-time player, a Hall of Fame player, and the guy that we're willing to give up is Tyler Hero. And that's been this case here, Damian Lillard, and Kevin Durant. The 2 times that the Heat have been willing, reportedly, we know they were, willing to trade Tyler Hero, have been for Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard. And while we all love Tyler Hero, and Tyler Hero knows he's a great player, Tyler knows, and we know, he's not as good as Damian Lillard, and he's not as good as Kevin Durant. And if you're being offered up in a trade, being offered up for 2 of the greatest players ever, I don't know that's necessarily insulting. So I get Tyler Hero being upset. And I think for the most part, you're upset because it's like your life is hanging in the balance. Not life or death, but your lifestyle. Your life is You have no control for right now where you're going to live your life. But you know what? I've had a former NBA coach tell me this before. That's what the money's for. That's why these guys are heavily compensated, because it's not the most ideal situation that Tyler Hero has to deal with right now, and that's what the money's for. That's why you're paid so handsomely. So when stuff like this happens, it's all part of the deal. It's why you're compensated so well. So just remember, like if you're Tyler Hero, I know he's listening. You got to remember that part, man. It's not because the team doesn't like you. They tried to acquire Kevin Durant, and now they're trying to acquire Damian Lillard. Like, come on. It's not that bad. So, anyway. As far as actual news from this weekend, has Adrian Wojnarowski done any PR for the Blazers this weekend? Is there any PR from Wojnarowski that we need to catch up on? And the answer is, because, look, he is totally holding water for the Blazers. He's got Joe Cronin, the GM of the Blazers, in his ear. He's doing their bidding. Just listen to the reporting, listen to the tone, and listen to what he is saying compared to what all the other reports are saying. And there's a different tone coming from Wojnarowski. And I've told you this before. Wojnarowski has no sources with the Heat. He does not like the Heat because he has no sources with the Heat. He has never broken a Miami Heat story. And the reason we have no other news, and I was explaining this to my son, there are no other offers out there. This is over. What Damian Lillard's agent did with shooing away the other teams, like, there was a point where we would hear a little bit about what Philly would offer for Lillard. We would hear a little bit about what Boston would offer for Lillard. Have you heard any of that anymore? It's over. It's not happening. What Aaron Goodwin, Lillard's agent, did in dissuading teams from trying to acquire Lillard, it worked. And there are no other offers out there. We know this because we haven't heard any. We would hear about it from Wojnarowski doing the work for the GM of the Blazers to try and make a bidding war. We haven't heard any of it. And the reason that Wojnarowski is the only one talking about this could take months, this is going to go deep into the summer, is because that's what the general manager of the Blazers wants him to say. Hell, the general manager of the Blazers said it himself. And he's told Wojnarowski, reiterate that for me. You're my PR agent. This is over. The Heat are going to get him. It's just a matter of when and how much they're going to have to give up. And we talked about this on Friday. Man, can the Heat really get away with just Tyler Hero and a bunch of first-round picks? Obviously, you got to make the contract work. Are you adding in Lowry? Please, God, please Hashem, please allow them to trade Kyle Lowry away. Or is it Robinson? I don't know. But can they possibly get away with not trading one of the other young guys? Well, the reason they can get away with that is because the Heat have made their offer, presumably, and they're like, call us when you're ready. The Heat are not going to bid against themselves. There's no reason for the Heat to up the offer. Now, the Heat, look, I've talked about this before too. The Heat can bring down the offer because, yeah, if you're not bidding against yourself, you can make a super low ball offer, take it or leave it. You have nothing else out there. Can't bring Lillard back. He's already asked out. It's going to be a disaster. Reporters will be asking him every day, asking the coach every day, asking Scoot Henderson every day. You know what? We're taking Tyler Hero off the table. Just accept this. The Heat are not going to do that because the Heat are about good business. The Heat are about good faith. And they're not going to do that. But they're also not going to bid against themselves. And that's why the offer whatever the offer is that's out there, that's the offer. Call us when you're ready to consummate the deal. We're here. We'll get it done. And it's going to get done. And I think that this deal is rather close. I told you that last week. I told you that where I'm just trying to connect dots. I'm just trying to use common sense. And the agent was very loud. And then the agent had a meeting with Joe Cronin. After the meeting, the agent said, we had a very positive meeting. And he hasn't said anything since. Why is that? To me, that would mean, yeah, they're close to a deal. But then there's also this. Another reason that I think this deal is almost done. You remember when the Heat traded for Jimmy Butler? Well, the year before they traded for Jimmy Butler, where the Wolves ended up trading him to Philadelphia. But at first, they were trying to trade him to Miami. And the deal was centered around Josh Richardson, and it didn't go through because the Wolves also wanted Bam. And the Heat weren't going to do that. And the talks are going on and on. And Josh Richardson's name was out there in the exact same way that Tyler Hero's name is out there right now. And Josh Richardson was supposed to be the number one option for the Heat that year, which he ended up being in the 2019 season. Now, Tyler Hero's not the number one option. But Richardson's name was out there, floating, flailing, the exact same way that Tyler Hero's name is out there right now. And what ended up happening? It was taking too long. The Heat bowed out. And Pat Riley met with the team. Now, granted, this was right before training camp. We're not quite there yet. You got to point that out. You got to be fair. But Pat Riley met with the team and delivered a very clear message that there were talks and it's over with. There is no trade that's going to be made. And that allows Josh Richardson to have the peace of mind and move on forward with his life and playing for the team. And they did not make that trade until the next year. Well, Tyler Hero's still hanging out there. Pat Riley hasn't assured anyone that a trade is not happening. Pat Riley hasn't assured the other players or Tyler Hero, most importantly, that a trade is not happening. He made sure he did that with Josh Richardson and the rest of the team. Why hasn't he done that here with Tyler Hero? Because this trade's going to happen. And I think the trade is close. So, there's no new news out there. But again, I'm trying to connect the dots here. I'm trying to use some common sense. And I think we're using some common sense when we look at it like that.